Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another March Madness edition of the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. This is Dan DeWitt coming at you, and we just had the greatest time of the year last weekend, and it will continue here on to this next weekend and for a couple weekends yet. Nothing quite like the first weekend, the opening days. Basketball all day on Thursday and Friday. Upsets, although not as many this year, setting up some great matchups in the second round. Our Tar Heels advance into the Sweet 16, barely. We'll get into all that. Of course, the first round game, Duke losing, Villanova losing, all that good stuff. We'll jump around into some of that stuff, hopefully all of that stuff. But I want to thank you guys for continuing to listen, to support the podcast. I know a lot of you have been sharing it out and sharing it with friends and family, and giving feedback and comments and questions and all kinds of stuff into the podcast. I appreciate that. And yeah, I just love to talk Tar Heel basketball with you guys and unite Tar Heel Nation as much as I can. That is my goal here through the podcast. And let's jump right into it. First game on Friday, played Texas Southern. Not a lot to say there. Easy win, 103-64. Kind of the first real blowout of the tournament. There'd been other 20-point wins and stuff, but even the one seeds that played before us was close. Like the first, maybe it wasn't the first half, first 15 minutes. Some of it was a little bit more than half, and then they pulled away and won by 20 or something. Ours was kind of the first true blowout where we just came out and blitzed them, and we never stopped. So not a lot to say about this one. We'll go through some stats real quick. Justin Jackson led us, getting back on track. He had 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, hit 5 threes all in the first half, and tied the record for the UNC record for most threes in a season. Tied Shamad Williams. I believe Page has the career threes, but apparently he did not ever hit more than 95 threes in a season. Justin has now, since the Arkansas game, passed that. He hit a few threes in the Arkansas game. So he is now has the most threes in a season by a Tar Heel. So congratulations to Justin there. We also got 17 points from Isaiah Hicks. They couldn't handle him in the post and driving from the high post. Kenny Meeks, 13 points. Both of them only had 6 rebounds. So Justin, well, I guess no, Luke May had 9 rebounds, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 1 rebound away from a double-double for Luke May. But other than that, yeah, Justin had the second most rebounds. Nate Britt gave us 10 points off the bench. Tony Bradley gave us 12 points off the bench with 6 rebounds. Joel Berry just 3 points and 3 assists and no turnovers. Played 22 minutes, but didn't play a ton in the second half because he turned his ankle. He did shoot 1 for 8, so he wasn't shooting good anyway. But turned his ankle. He went out, scary moment, of course, for Tar Heels. We know what it's like to lose a point guard in the tournament. Did come back for a few minutes just to kind of test it, give some confidence back to him to hopefully be ready for the second round. Theo, just 3 points in 22 minutes as well. And then, yeah, we got some scattered points, 6 from Stillman, 4 from Coker, a couple from Robinson and Woods. But yeah, good opening game. We came out and kind of blitzed them and took care of business, got some guys rest. Joel Berry ankle thing became a whole thing because then on what would have been Saturday, a bunch of stuff came out that, well, Roy had said, well, I don't know if he's going to play tomorrow. He wasn't practicing, just getting treatment and kind of see how it goes. But from everything Joel said, from everything that I was hearing about how he was walking and looking, he was going to play. And it's a good thing he did. We went into Arkansas. We blitzed them early. We got up to like a 17-point lead. It was like 30-13 at one point. And it looked like it was going to be a nice, easy second-round win as well. And then they went on a 9-0 run, got right back into it. I believe we won by we were leading by 5 at halftime. And then they just kept coming at us in the second half. They took the lead. And then for a good portion of the second half, they were leading by, I don't know, 5 to 7 points, something like that. And really balanced scoring from them. They had 19 from Macon off the bench, 10 from Beard, but 9 from Kingsley, 9 from Barford, 8 from Hannah's. And I don't know, as much as these teams were supposed to be running and gunning and entertaining game, score was only 72-65 when we ended up winning. Uh, and it was pretty sloppy off. I don't know. Maybe the defense was that good. To me, it almost seemed more like the offense wasn't that good. There was several times like Isaiah just didn't catch the ball. Justin had a couple where it just like seemed to slip out of his hands, or he just didn't catch it. Theo had one, thought he had it and just gave it away. And I don't know what it was, if they were intimidated, if they were just worried about the pressure, what it was, but was not pretty offensively. And we ended the game on a 12-0 run. Really, we were down, what they say, 5 or 6 with under 3 minutes to go, 2.5, 3 minutes left. And we went on a 12-0 run to win by 7. So I guess, yeah, we're probably down 5. I think it was 65-60 with, around 3 minutes, maybe a little bit less. Ended up winning 72-65. And yeah, I don't know. People are going to complain about calls. They think there should have been a charge on Joel Berry, but I think he was fouled way before that. They say he traveled on that play, which he probably did travel on that play. But again, he was fouled long before that. And there was one where it looked like Kennedy tipped the ball, went out of bounds. There would have been like a second left on the shot clock. There's so many things that I think, a team that plays an aggressive defense like Arkansas does, or like Duke, can come out and pressure you, and they slap at the ball, and they have whatever reputation or whatever is why they get away from the calls. I mean, you could easily call a lot more fouls. They didn't really have that many people in foul trouble. Kingsley ended up with 4, a couple of guys with 3, and that's it. So it's not like they're in foul trouble. I think it could have been a lot worse if they were calling it like if you called every foul. Obviously, you can't call every foul, and I'm not saying you should. That would be way too boring of basketball to watch. But at the same time, like, you just can't let everything go when a team is aggressive like that. I've heard Rick Pitino say that before. Like, I don't think he said it in public, but he says to people, like, the ref's not going to call everything, so just get aggressive and live with what they call and kind of adjust to it. But it is what it is. We pulled it out. It was way too close for comfort. But there's a scare every year. Hopefully this is our scare. Not that we're going to have an easy path or an easy way to the Final Four or championship or anything like that. We got a tough road ahead of us just to get to the Final Four. But hopefully this gives us kind of confidence in close games to take care of business, and that we can execute against any kind of defense or pressure or anything like that. Offensively, led by Kennedy Meek, 16 points, 11 rebounds, with that 11th one giving him 1,000 rebounds for his career. Becomes the 9th player in Carolina history with 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds. And that was a huge one. It was a rebound on a tip-in off the Joel Berry, charge / travel / whatever, to beat the shot clock. Huge bucket there, and ended up being his 1,000th rebound as well. Justin Jackson, 15 points, but just on 5 or 14 shooting. Gave us 8 rebounds as well. Did have 5 assists, but also had 4 turnovers. And that's, kind of what I'm talking about there, is just turnovers. Isaiah had 3 turnovers, Theo 3 turnovers, and just we had some silly passes, some silly choices of passes even, and shot selection as well. When they were going on the run in the first half, shot selection was not ideal in any means. Joel Berry did end up with 10 points, just 2 for 13 shooting, both of them being 3-pointers, but then was 4 for 7, which still is on the low end for him free throw wise, but converted enough. Isaiah had a couple of big ones. He ended up with 9 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Off the bench, Nate Britt, again, 6 points, pretty big, 6 points, a couple of free throws, a couple of buckets. And let's see here. And then Luke May, 7 points. I remember one of his long jumper. We were just kind of struggling offensively. He hits a long 2. It was big for us. And that's what we need is everybody to kind of step up. Joel's leg, we're not under him because of that ankle injury, whatever. Hopefully he's got enough time here to rest up before the Sweet 16 round, and he'll be completely healthy and good to go. Sounded like Brandon Robinson, flu or something, kind of throwing up, and so he was not himself. We didn't get he did play a little bit in the Texas Southern game, but barely anything in this game. And Hopefully he's completely better so that we can get those couple minutes, few minutes from him that we need, or if needed. Tony Bradley, 7.7 rebounds, was pretty big for us, especially in the first half, giving us some good minutes there. And again, kind of watching trends that we've been watching. Joel Berry got to the free throw line this game some. Isaiah Hicks, just 2 fouls, so was not in foul trouble. We probably did not hit threes like we can or maybe need to against a really quality team. We did not handle the pressure. It wasn't really even the press that gave us trouble. It was more like we were worried about just the half-court press or pressure that they put on us, that we just weren't catching the ball or whatever it was. Like, it just was not the Carolina team we've seen. Like, I've never seen this team before. It was a little strange for sure. As far as shooting goes, we shot 33% in the first half, 46% in the second half. Not great either way there. They shot 42% and 45%. So they actually shot better than us. Again, it's those offensive rebounds. We out-rebounded them offensively, 18-8. I don't know how many points we got off of that, but overall rebounding 45-32 in our favor. Assists started off well. We started off, getting a lot of assists to our bucket ratio. It only ended up with 15, which isn't a ton, but and then also 17 turnovers does not help us in any way. But we did force 19 for them. So, and again, it's the defense in that last 3 minutes. We just kind of shut them down. They could not get good looks. When they did get a shot off, it was contested, and it was one and done. We got the rebound and we were out. And we need to do that a little more consistently, not just the last 3 minutes. The guys realize that. They know now the competition. They've been here before. Outside of Tony Bradley, Seventh Woods, Brandon Robinson, everybody's played in these type of games. Luke probably not a lot of minutes or whatever, but they've all been here. They know what to expect. They know the levels stepping up. So hopefully that means we'll step up our game here and we'll be ready. We got Butler coming up here on Friday in Memphis. That game will tip at 7:09 Eastern on CBS. It'll be the first game. I'm trying to think if it's the first one of the evening or the first one on that channel. I think it's the first one of the night. 7:09 tip. We know it can't start late because there's no game before us. And then following it will be a Kentucky UCLA game, which obviously we'll play the winner of that if we win. And that one will be, of course, good as well. First of all, that game should be good. UCLA beat them at Rupp this season, so Kentucky looking for some revenge there. It's in Memphis, Tennessee, so there's going to be a majority of Kentucky fans. Hopefully we get enough out there to get some support for our Heels. And so we first got to get past Butler. They look really good in the first half, or in the first weekend. Absolutely throttled Winthrop, and then just kind of handled business against Middle Tennessee State, a very good Middle Tennessee State team. So yeah, we can't take them lightly. It'd be a different pace to the game, a different style than Arkansas, a little bit closer to Virginia, but hopefully we can get them running and shooting a little bit so that we can play our style. Again, that's obviously the purpose of the way we play, is speed other teams up. So hopefully we can do that. Let's see, I think we were favored. I think I saw this morning we're favored by like 7 in this game. But yeah, obviously we can win by more than that, but this game easily could come down and be really tight as well. We've got to make sure we're ready for anything and ready to handle each style. Obviously, I picked us to win it. I think we're going to win it yet, but if we play like we did against Arkansas, we will not. I'll go ahead and tell you that. If we play anything close to the game we played against Arkansas, we're not going to be on to the Elite Eight over Butler. We got to step it up and play. I'm not going to say we have to play our best game, but we got to play a really good game. I mean, everybody does. This is the Sweet 16, second weekend of the NCAA tournament. It's a winner go home time. Everybody wants it. They got stuff to prove too. So we got to take care of business. I think we will. I'm pretty confident in these guys. Again, they've been here. They've done it. And it's time to go out and prove it. And, if they really want that redemption that they're all talking about, they'll do that. So, yeah, then we go on to either UCLA or Kentucky on Sunday. And either one of those is not going to be easy. I did, transitioning here a little bit to the bracket, I did have Kentucky winning When I went through my bracket last podcast, I did end up switching that mostly out of I hope UCLA wins because it's in Memphis and it would be more of a home game for Kentucky. Whereas if we can face UCLA, we should have more of the home court advantage, being the 1 seed, being a little bit closer to Chapel Hill, all that stuff. Of course, if Kentucky can beat UCLA, they avenge their loss this season, and obviously we know we lost to Kentucky this year, so we'd have kind of that revenge factor going at them. But they're a good squad. Both of them are. UCLA probably could hurt us a little bit more from 3 than Kentucky does or would. So yeah, we'd have but defensively they just wouldn't be able to stop us. UCLA's defense is just horrible. So we should be able to score as well, but we just have to guard that 3 and contain them a little bit, which, yeah, we've struggled to do in the past. So either one, we know it's going to be tough. But, yeah, I'll transition into my bracket here a little bit. That bracket, I kind of told you already. Going over to the East, I went 0 for 4 in Sweet 16 teams. I had Villanova, Virginia, SMU, and Duke in the Sweet 16. Villanova lost to Wisconsin. Virginia lost in the second round to Florida. SMU lost in the first round to USC. And then Duke, we know, lost to the other USC, South Carolina, last night. Great game there, and which made the Tar Heels' victory all that much sweeter that Duke lost on the same night. The preseason #1, as Coach K will say, ACC champs, since they won the tournament. Go out in the first weekend once again. It was great. Do I feel bad for them? No. It was kind of a home game for South Carolina because it's in South Carolina, and all the Tar Heel fans that were there in the same building were obviously cheering for South Carolina as well. So in that sense, I would say it's not fair. I'm sure plenty of Tar Heel fans would say the same if we were in that position. So I'll state that, but regardless, they could have won. I mean, if this is the team they thought it was going to be all year long, they should have won. And after they were talking about ACC tournament and how great they were and all that stuff, no excuses. We'll put it that way. So yeah, I went 0 for 4 in the Sweet 16, but I was okay with that once it was Duke that was the last team left and they lost. So down in the West, let's see. I don't remember what I said on the podcast because I switched it a couple of times. I don't remember if it was before or after I did the podcast, but I ended up having Xavier win the first round against Maryland, and then I had FSU winning the second round against Xavier. I had switched it at one point to Maryland beating Xavier and then beating Florida State. Then I ended up going back to it. So I don't remember how I said that, but I ended up with Xavier, which I was right in the first round, and then I had Florida State winning that second round. Xavier beat Florida State as well, pretty easily at that. And yeah, that's the other thing. ACC teams, we are, as North Carolina, is the only ACC team left out of the 9 that got bids. Does not look good for our conference. Some tough matchups, but sadly, it was just blowouts. Virginia got blown out. Florida State, like I said, got blown out. Miami got blown out by Michigan State in the first round. Louisville, I don't know that it was a blowout, but, lost. Again, I don't know if I want to say comfortably even, but, wasn't like a buzzer beat or anything, to Michigan, a 7 seed. Let's see here. Wake Forest not even make it out of the play-in game. Who's the other ACC teams I'm looking for? Notre Dame got blown out by West Virginia in the second game. Maybe that was because it's St. Patrick's Day the night before, the day before, and maybe they partied just like their fans did or something. I don't know, but they got blown out. I think that's about all of them. And then obviously Duke to South Carolina wasn't really a blowout, but I mean, it was a double-digit win, or I don't know if it ended up that way, but for much of the second half, a double-digit game. And yeah, so that leaves just North Carolina. The thing is now, they said the ACC during the whole season is the toughest conference, and Big Ten was horrible. And now we've lost everybody except North Carolina, and Big Ten, had Michigan State doing better than their seed, and I don't know, Michigan's looking so good now, and whatever, saying, oh, maybe Big Ten isn't as bad as they were. Here's the thing: if North Carolina goes on and wins the whole thing, you're not going to remember anything about the rest of the conferences. And matchups and won games don't change that either. Just because and I would say they all lost just because of the matchup. I mean, Florida State should have beat Xavier. I mean, there's no reason for it. But Louisville, if they could shoot the ball, should easily have beat Michigan. But it's not just matchups, but at the same time, you can't just take a sample size of one game for each of these teams and say, oh, now the conference wasn't as good as we thought during the whole season. It just doesn't. It's the same thinking as the ACC tournament champion is the real champion, not the regular season one. It's like, winning that conference by 2 games should mean more than winning 4 games in 4 days or 3 in 3 days, whatever. But people are going to spin it to get the storyline that they want, and that's whatever. So yeah, I only missed Florida State in that Sweet 16. Well, I should say only missed Xavier in the Sweet 16 of the West bracket. I had the Zags, West Virginia, Arizona. All right, if you remember, I have West Virginia beating Gonzaga here in the Sweet 16. We'll see if I predict that right. Up in the Midwest, I got everybody except I had Louisville instead of Michigan in the Sweet 16. Oregon barely pulled it out against Rhode Island. And then I have KU beating Purdue, although I think Purdue could really give them a run for their money. Oregon, I think, is not even favored. I think Michigan's favored over Oregon in this game, which is crazy, the 7 over the 3. But it's just kind of the way they're playing. So we'll see if Oregon can pull that out, which would mean if North Carolina gets out of their bracket, they'd play Kentucky. Maybe it'd be easier to play Michigan. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And then, obviously our bracket, kind of some storylines or big games that it was the first 2 days, Thursday, Friday, not nearly the upsets that we've seen in past days. A 12 seed, Middle Tennessee State, which is an upset everybody was picking anyway, was the lowest seed to advance. I think three of the 11 seeds went on to win. But other than that, not many upsets. I think I picked all the 10s over 7s. Only one 10-1. That was Wichita State in a very good game with Dayton, and then had to turn around and play a very good game against Kentucky. Ended up losing that one by 3. That was a great game, great storyline. Northwestern, let's see who they beat. They beat Vanderbilt in the first round. Played Gonzaga really well. It looked like they were going to get blown out by Gonzaga. Fought back. I guess you have to give Chris Collins credit there. The court will probably be named after him before next season even starts. But they did fight back. You have to give him credit there. And then kind of got screwed by a bad non-goaltending call right in the middle of towards the end of their run. And then they ended up losing that one. That was a great game. Oh, what other games? Obviously, Duke losing to South Carolina was a really good game. Baylor and USC last night was a good game. Wisconsin beating Villanova. That was when there was just one game on CBS. Very good game there. Purdue and Iowa State was a really good game. It was Barton and Swanigan going at it and exchanging blows. Like I said, Rhode Island, Oregon was a really good game. Because I think, and this is just my theory, but because there was less upsets in the first round, we had so many great matchups in the second round. And some of those, like people say, Wichita State was underseeded. That should have been like a Sweet 16 game. So you can say, well, we should have got it later in the tournament. But there was just so many great matchups and great games in the second round. Like, it almost makes me want there to be less upsets in the first 2 days that we usually have. Like, let's keep this trend going year to year, and let's, instead of Thursday, Friday being all exciting because we get upsets and then there's blowouts with really good teams playing teams that upset somebody in the second round, let's not have any upsets and let's have these really great matchups in the second round, and then hopefully even better ones in the Sweet 16 and just build on it. I think that would be awesome. Obviously, people like the excitement of the upsets and all that junk, but that's my 2 cents. Maybe you guys don't care. Maybe you don't agree. I don't know. I'd love to hear from you. If you're not connected with me, Twitter, email, anything else to get a hold of me. Links are in the description. Otherwise, it's at AllTarHeelDan on Twitter. Email is unchoopstalk@gmail.com. Love to get feedback from you guys. And I guess on that one, maybe there's not anybody besides Tar Heel fans listening to this, probably. But even if you're not, I'd love to get just reasonable feedback. If you just come in to hate, whatever, go ahead. I appreciate the email and appreciate you listening, but may not get a response. If there's reasonable stuff, I'd love to chat about it. Live for this time of year and for this kind of stuff. This is, I plan my days around this stuff. It's awesome. This is, like I said before, I'm a stay-at-home dad, and this is the greatest time of the year to be a stay-at-home dad. Just put some basketball on and yeah, just play with the kids and watch some basketball. It's great. But yeah, I won't bore you with that or make you envious or whatever it is you got there. I think that's about all I got here. I was going to check my notes, check to make sure not missing anything. And yeah, that's all we got. We got North Carolina coming up. Well, we got games coming up Thursday. Don't forget that. We got games coming up Thursday. Start at 7 Eastern. There'll be 4 games there, and then North Carolina on Friday starting at 7:09. Make sure you get that 09 in there. 7:09 Eastern on CBS on Friday night. Tar Heels taking on Butler, and then barring any kind of craziness, we'll have the Tar Heels taking on either the Kentucky Wildcats or the UCLA Bruins on Sunday evening. Get us hopefully into the Final Four and ready for another week there as we head into the Final Four. We'd, of course, love to be in it ourselves. So that is all I got for you guys this week. Send me some feedback. Send me your thoughts. How's your bracket going? What's the Tar Heels kind of keys here to beating Butler or UCLA or Kentucky, whoever you think it'll be? Shoot me some feedback on Twitter, through email, here on YouTube if that's where you're watching. Love to get feedback and talk to you guys. But that is all I got for you guys this week. Until we talk again next week. Unless there's a surprise podcast. I'm not necessarily planning on it. But if I can, I would. No, you know what? I'm going to be out of town. I actually have to watch the Friday game in a hotel. We're coming back Sunday. So I'm not going to get a podcast out in between there. So I will see you guys next week. Sorry for getting your hopes up if I did. But we'll see you next week. Until then, go Heels.